Hey, this is Rashonda Thornton, the Dietitian Against Diets podcast show. I am excited to introduce you to my new monthly panel series called Heart and Grit, Conversations with Mindful Leaders. Now, through these conversations, you will be able to connect to the trials and tribulations that they struggle, but also recognizing the success they've had in their lives. Thanks to Midwest Dairy, every month I will be joined by a different dynamic set of leaders who have done all the footwork behind the scenes, but they have done it with a passion and with their heart. This is an opportunity to connect with their stories, learn their struggles, and celebrate their successes. But most of all, find a way to connect to your life and how this can be an inspiration to you. Okay, well, welcome to another episode of Grit and Heart, Conversations with Thoughtful Leaders. So this particular month, we're going to have our topic going to be centered around branding, building brands. Anywhere from branded to person, provisions, products. I know we all are wanting to stand out when it comes to our own entrepreneurship route, and we always sometimes get stuck on what that looks like. So I have a few questions before I actually start introducing my guests. How many of you have tried everything to stand out in your personal branding? Or how many of you have been trying to work on a product, whether it's product placing or product strategy, but still not getting any traction? And last but not least, how long have you strived to showcase your service in a way that appeals to customers? Now, I can tell you that I'm an expert in nutrition, but I'm not an expert in this area. And that's why today I want to introduce to my panel, because pulling this dynamic panel together, these are individuals who are leaders in their own respected industry, and they're ready to share their stories, how they position themselves, and the struggles they took to get there. And most importantly, how can this be a guiding light for you? So I want to start off to my right. I want to introduce you to Mich Hancock. She's the CEO of 100th Monkey. We'll talk about what that means later. And she's also the co-founder of TEDx here in St. Louis. To the bottom, we have Mary Clarke. She's the co-owner of Mother Management Model Company. I may have said that a little backwards, but she owns a modeling company here in St. Louis. And to the bottom right, bottom left, I have Julie Mossler. She is the founder and CMO at Common Fortune, which is a company that she created. So I wanted to say welcome, ladies, to the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yes, I am too. Now, this is a big topic because, especially right now, with having limitations in how you're marketing and advertising, we don't have the ability to, go to fairs or go to networking events, or just find ways to create connections with people. So we're kind of forced to work within the spaces of social media and media marketing. So this is like the perfect time to work on how do you get to that place to where you are standing out, whether you're an individual, whether you have a company or a service. So, every pathway, every position that you ladies are in, it took a pathway, it took a career pathway. And behind that pathway, it took a decision on what made you make this decision over the other. So I'm going to just start off talking about how your decisions pave your pathway in your career right now. Now, Mich, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not Mich, not you, Mich. I'm sorry with you, Mary. Yeah, sorry, Mich. I'll come back to you. But Mary, just a second. But Mary, I'm going to start off with you because you have a unique partnership. Now, you and your husband both co-own this modeling company.
Yes.
So my question for you, you think about, husband and wife dynamic, who was the one that birthed the idea of creating this management, and and how has this decision that you both made just can't change the trajectory of your lives?
Well, I already had the business when my husband and I met, and it wasn't at that time, it wasn't called Mother, but I was in the modeling business. So technically we're not an agency, we're a management company. So What that means is we scout, we go to concerts. Well, now we don't, but you go and you try to discover people. And then it also happens, when you're at Target buying toilet paper, you can find somebody. And so we kind of live this adventurous life. We've been together for almost 25 years. And when we made the decision to kind of reinvent what we were doing, which I think this is the best advice I would give to anybody, it had to be authentically who we are as people. And the term mother agent is the actual term in the modeling business. And when we stopped and really thought about our role and how we guide and nurture and support international fashion models, which is who we work with. But today we were in Wentzville, Missouri, shooting a video on a girl for a potential job for a major designer in Paris. And she just kept going, I live in Wentzville. This is so crazy that this is
Wow.
happening.
Yeah.
But that's where the nurturing and the encouraging to, dream big and all of that came into place. So Mother was kind of the perfect name, and we balance each other. I'm the chatty one, he's the get things done kind of guy. And so we just, it's a partnership that works because we each have different strengths and weaknesses. And I think that's key really to anything.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like that. And the fact that, this is something that it just took time to grow too. Like people people are like, well, if anyone were to go to their website and they see their different display of different models that they've helped, you would think, how did that happen? And again, you guys came together and, you've started, and then your husband, you guys was like a perfect match to the personalities, and you both had the same drive to move your company forward, and that it just over time it just continued to grow. And we'll definitely talk a lot more about that, because I'm glad you brought up what mother management meant, because the first thing I thought was, what does that mean? But now it clarifies like what it means. Yeah. I do have some more questions about that. Before I do that, I want to jump to Julie real quick. Now, Julie, now I did a little creeping, okay? And so like your title as the stealth builder of super brands and super teams. That sounds pretty superwomanish, you know what I mean? But you also have a track record at being the head of branding and marketing for the company Waves. We talked about that a few minutes ago, and Groupon. So being in these high marketing positions, what were some key choices you made that allowed these opportunities?
So I think they were choices I didn't realize I was making at the time, and it was running towards things that excited me. So my background was in journalism and storytelling and being at PR agencies, which are very important jobs. They involve calling reporters and placing stories. Mm-hmm. But what I didn't realize was my strength was really in marketing. It was in building a brand and sort of thinking about how you can support the entire business, which is more in the marketing wheelhouse than it might be strictly in media relations or in PR. And so while I didn't have a manager who necessarily nurtured that and told me, you really belong in marketing, I kind of took the long way around and eventually wound up there anyway, because that's where I was strongest.
Yeah, and like you said, that's where you had an interest. You found that that's where you flourished, and like you drove, like that was your passion. Like you figured that was your passion through those lines.
Yeah, and I think naturally we want to do things that we're good at and that we're excited about. And so my career naturally led me towards where I belonged being in a company, but it took me a long time to get there and figure that out.
Yeah. Now, are you like, in retrospect, in hindsight, would you say that was like the decisions to believe in yourself and what you truly want to do? Do you believe like that's really that you did the right thing,
Absolutely. I think in general, and maybe it's the witchy side of me, but I think that if it's meant for you, you'll have it and you have to go get it. And so over time, I would do things I didn't like, and I was like, nope, not doing that again. And I would remember the opportunity of how good it felt when I wrote something or when I worked on something that was more brand driven. And I understood, yes, I want more of that. And I made decisions that brought me closer to that experience.
And, I'm glad that you said that, because I'm seeing everyone like nod their head on that. And if any entrepreneur or business owner that you talk to, like they recognize what it is that they really truly want to do, and they take that chance, and because of the decisions that they make from that chance, it just naturally pivots them to where they're supposed to be at the end of the day. So I think, when it comes to, everyone has hesitations on, should I do this, or am I good enough, or am I good at this? But it's something deep down inside of you that, just like you just connect to this one particular thing. Like you have to like try it out at least, right? So, and you never know where it takes you. I mean, it's taking you several places, Julie. So I believe you're a walking billboard of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks. It feels
welcome.
good.
Okay, Mich, I'm coming back to you now.
Okay.
So,
I think
so
my
now
cat wants to get discovered by Mary, though.
I see that. What's your kitty cat's name?
Friday.
Friday.
She just decided to pop up there. I'm like, oh, right, great. And she's like, I am really good looking, Mary. Didn't know if you noticed.
I'm
I would
part of
like
this.
to sign up now and be the
Exactly.
international cat model.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, Mich, so you simultaneously, you have a digital marketing company, you're co-lead to TEDx St. Louis here, TEDx here in St. Louis. And well, the audience didn't talk about, we talked about before, but you're also a host of a podcast show, and you say you do that for pleasure. So that's just something because it's just fun to do.
Right.
How have all these pathways, how have they crossed to where, how have they all just kind of find a ways crossing to where they just kind of align themselves simultaneously? And which one of them you did not see coming?
Well, I think I just say yes to things that I find really fun and that fulfill me. And all three of these things do. I started my digital. Oh, so now my cat's trying to. My cat's
Wow.
Sorry about that. So I have just found that saying yes to the things that really fulfill you is super important. And for me, weirdly, a digital marketing company came about because when social media hit the scene, I felt like all my strange skill sets came into play. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this. This is awesome. And then I ran, I tend to be fire, ready, aim. That's my mantra. And so I ran into this whole thing. And I started looking around me and realizing that all of the other people in social media could have been my children. They were quite young. And I was like this really old person doing social media. But what it did was I became a very safe bridge for older people to market their companies this way. So whereas before, they were like, I don't need, a 20-something-year-old coming in here and telling me. I was going and going, been there, done that. I've seen all the different types of marketing available. I've worked with all of them. And here's why you need to do social media. So it worked out great.
Yeah, so you became the gateway to those that were apprehensive. They felt like they didn't know enough of this new platform to even test it out.
Exactly. So it worked out really good. So I didn't see that coming, but when I saw that was happening, I was like, okay, I'm glad I listened to the universe. This all makes sense now. I don't feel so weird that I'm hanging out with a bunch of 20 and 30-year-olds. But
you sound like me,
though. They accepted me, which is good. But then TEDx, I think that I honestly, I had gotten an inkling many, many years prior to it showing up that it was going to be a part of my life somehow. I didn't know how. But then when I met Steve Summers and, he had this idea to bring TEDx to St. Louis, I was like, let's go. I knew this was going to be a part of my life. And I was intrigued by TED because I feel like it is here to evolve the human race.
Yeah.
And I really like anything that's going to evolve us because so many things try to take us the other direction.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's fun. It's fun. And everything that I do is just a way of being with people and being in the world and taking the life I get to have here and make the most of it.
I like that. Yeah. And it seems like everyone, it's, as we're talking about this, you all just pave your own, you just had to make your own pathway. That's essentially what happened. And I commend that because, when I think about what I do, I totally went against the grain in doing what a typical dietitian and what most dietitians do. I have never stepped foot in the hospital to work with in a clinical setting because I realized that I want to make a change before a person comes to the hospital. So how can I create that imagery or that service that allows people to change their health and their nutrition prior to having to, have unfortunate events with their health, and because of the choice I made, I can go through a list of how it has pivoted me, but it has pivoted me in so many different directions that I never thought that I would be in. But I love every moment of it, and in each position I'm in, I feel I'm supposed to be there, you know? And I think like that's what you guys always feel each time, because if it's meant for you, it'll be for you. And it'll be pretty smooth sailing once you get on that pathway. You'll start being way more keen on what fits you, what doesn't, and you'll feel more confident in your choices. So I agree on all accounts when you guys, talk about, what led you to your next step that got you to where you are. So we're going to talk about like the uniqueness now, because we talk about branding, and a lot about branding is people just want to try to find a way to separate themselves. You got to find a way to separate yourself from all the noise, for lack of better words. So we're going to talk about like the uniqueness of your service and like how you carved that territory. Now, Julie, I want to come back to you, and because what you had said earlier about like how you just pretty much made the pathway yourself. It wasn't like just handed over to you. You didn't have like a guideline or how to do this. Like it just kind of just made, you just found your way to the place you're supposed to be in it. But like what uniquely stood out, and when we talk about your service now, you said you start your new company you started, like what uniqueness stood out in your services, even now, but even before then, that got you the seat in articles and magazines such as Business Insider's Top 50 Tech People and PR's Week Innovation 50s and 40 and 40 and under. Like, people see that and they're like, oh my God, like, how did you like mold that and got yourself to that position? Like, it's almost like, it's not really a 1 plus A plus C plus B, but like help us to kind of wrap our head around how that even happened.
So I think it's like three things. And the first one is I just held on for dear life, right? Because these companies started from nothing. Groupon was the fastest growing company of all time. And so you don't apply for a job like that. When I started there, it was a small job that grew into a big one. But I held on and I earned the right to stay. So I asked a lot of questions. I was upfront about what I didn't know. And I was Googling every night when I got home to kind of up-level the skills that I didn't have. So I couldn't have applied for that job at another company like a Yahoo or something. But once I got in the door, I kept it, right? And I did my best to stay there and earn the right to stay. But that being said, I think there are a lot of other people that made Groupon what it was and helped put us on the map. And I don't know that those lists are necessarily representative of who the top 50 people are in any given category. A lot of it is just PR for the business. So I would say what you can do to make yourself stand out is just know that what you've walked through in your life and your own experiences are totally uniquely yours. And so it makes you special in that role, whatever it is. And you can apply those learnings to relate to consumers, to relate to partners or B2B, and make what you do uniquely special that no one else could do in that job.
Yeah, I like that. It's a good thing to watch others to kind of maybe help you understand, like, where you would want to see yourself, but you still have to remember you have to like create within yourself, and like what qualities and skill sets you have. You don't have to mimic someone. You can create that within, who you are.
Yeah, and people sense that within 5 minutes. So, we always said it was a great thing that Groupon was from Chicago because we didn't pretend to be some startup from the Valley. And that would have seemed very inauthentic to people that we were selling to in the Midwest. It was great that we had our own playbook that was blank because we could just figure it out. And I think that goes for personal branding and personal career as well.
Yeah. So with your current company right now, what is the uniqueness of what you guys do right now with your company?
Well, I didn't want to build an agency. I didn't want to just plug in somewhere and not feel like we had a thoughtful partnership. And that's, I guess, the bad reputation of agencies. The best agencies that I've worked with are long-term relationships where they really come in as a partner to the business. So the way that we think about building brands is that 50% of our time is coming in and building a marketing department or building a brand from scratch. But we will only commit to do that if we are mentoring the head of marketing that is already there. And so we do that because I think that marketing specifically falls through the gaps of hypergrowth anytime a company grows. And usually it's women, minorities, people that don't necessarily have mentors that are in those creative positions. And they're the first people to quit or leave when they don't have a clear career path. So we will come in and we will make you a super brand, but we will only do that if you show that you're investing in the team that you already have.
Ah, like that. Okay. I appreciate that. Like it's more to it than just the footwork. It's recognizing those gaps and helping to fill those gaps, when it comes
Right.
to.
And oh, I was just going to say, I don't want to know that I came in and made some money off the business and left. I want to know that we've created a sustainable structure so that we're opening up doors and career paths for other people to come in and build diverse marketing teams.
Yeah, no, that's really great to hear that that's the approach that you guys take. Mich, I'm going to ask you a question about your company. So I said that earlier, but 100th Monkey, like I have no idea what that means. And so this is going to be your opportunity to tell us what it means. So what does the title mean? And speak about, one thing that, you had mentioned in your bio is about reputation management and like how it influences and shapes public perception. So kind of talk a little bit about your company and kind of how are you using those particular tools to help make the influence and change perspectives.
Sure. So, 100th Monkey, there's actually something called the 100th Monkey effect. And the story is that there was a group of scientists, they were studying a colony of monkeys on this little island in Japan and feeding them sweet potatoes. They'd just throw the sweet potatoes out there, they'd get covered in sand. And one day, one of the monkeys picked up the sweet potato, took it over to a stream, washed it off. Way better to eat that way. And the scientists said that little by little, the rest of the monkeys began to take up this same behavior. And by the 100th monkey, it became the new way of doing things. So that's how I looked at social media. One day someone's like, are you on Facebook? And they're trying to explain it to you. And you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And that sounds weird. And then the next thing you know, everybody was on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So it's that 100th monkey effect. And I feel that is that's something we all experience. One day something is going on that may look strange and then we're all wearing Ugg boots, we don't know. So that's the whole idea behind the 100th monkey effect. But it's interesting that you picked up on reputation management because that's such a huge part for all of us. What is our reputation out there? Did we earn the reputation? But I'm telling you, I'm seeing a lot of companies that really haven't earned a bad reputation. And they've got a disgruntled employee that left on bad terms. And next thing you know, they're telling all of their friends and family to say terrible things about that business. And that company feels very out of control. And we've actually helped companies that are dealing with this. So there are ways to deal with it. You get somebody in there like us who knows how to talk to Google, knows how to get these reviews taken down, and then also can help you build sustainable systems for getting new reviews to come in for you. So I need people to know it's not the end of the world, that there's ways to fix it. You don't have to look bad online, but you can also look a lot better online. That said, there are companies that are doing things they shouldn't do. So it's a good idea to, there's a Medium article that is out there about my whole kindness thing that I'm doing about, let's make social media and the internet a kinder and more tolerant place. And one of the things I am asking people, I don't want to be totally fluffy about it. Be nice and say nice things and be a cheerleader for everybody, but it goes deeper than that. That if you are feeling the need and you're compelled to act out and be condescending and just mean, stop and think about what you're doing. There's deeper issues here. That's when you need to stop and think, I maybe have to go talk to a professional and figure out why I am compelled to act in this manner. And I want you to heal because it's it's so much nicer to be on the side of happiness and kindness.
Yeah. That's really good you said it because people are hide behind words so easily, and they will say things that are so disheartening, or because they've had a bad day, someone else takes the brunt of it. And the thing about social media, like it's there and it sits. When it comes to review, review is a perception of someone's thought of it not being a good product or whatever happened, but it's not necessarily the reality, and that that can damage a reputation of a company.
It can go so far. I mean, that's the thing that people have to understand. I mean, what happens and is shown on social media can have a very far reach and can really damage a person. In fact, speaking of TEDx, I mean, or TED, Monica Lewinsky has an amazing TED talk about the shame that she experienced and how she overcame it, and what she has noticed since then that has happened to people. And it's just really a profound talk.
Yeah. And who is that again?
Monica Lewinsky.
Okay, I thought that's what you said. Hey, I'm sure it's worth listening to.
Amazing TED talk.
She would be someone in her position, speaking upon that definitely can get some insight. Yeah.
Definitely the person to give that talk. Yes.
Okay. So Mary, I got a question for you. Now you mentioned earlier about the name of your company and what that term is how it's used in the modeling world. And you also have found a way to be unique in your own way, because you just mentioned you have international, models. So, I mean, just the idea of like finding and discovering people that are across the world, to me, it just seemed like that would be just a hard, bill to take on. But you guys do it. And because of that, your company has been famous on certain platforms such as E!, Vogue, Entertainment Tonight, Good Morning America, the Wall Street Journal. So like what, outside of the name, what services that you provide that has stood out to where you guys are finding yourself in those spaces?
It's so interesting because it literally is what you all are talking about. Is we just decided that we were going to authentically be who we are as people, kind of bring that Midwest mentality that work hard, be good into the fashion world, which is kind of known to be tough and competitive. And those articles, we've never had a PR person. The Wall Street Journal came to us because a friend in the business said, you know what, you should see how these people navigate in this competitive fashion world. And we came into it saying, as hard as this business can be, if we come into it and bring a lot of heart and a lot of care. I mean, in the very beginning, people would say, don't care so much, you're going to get hurt. It's going to be harder taking that path. But like you say, when you navigate that way, I think in any business, in any industry, it comes back to you. I think that the seeds that you plant come back in the long run. And basically over time, we have found people in unusual places across the country, or people have submitted pictures to us, and then ending up, in Paris or in New York or on the cover of Vogue. I think it gives people hope that you can bloom where you are. You can trust your heart, follow your joy and your talent, like both of you talked about. And if you don't quit, it can take you to places that you never could have imagined or planned. And that's what keeps us living it.
And what you just said just reminded me of what Julie mentioned, like basically hold on for dear life. I'm assuming like when you're on that side, you're the service that's going to help bringing these particular individuals to the spotlight, lack of better words. Like I'm sure that's something that, like, so you just said, like, how some of the individuals that the models to be that you guys have come across, like they feel like this impossible, or they can never be what they aspire to be. And so with your particular way that you work with your clients, I'm assuming like you guys do give them that to give them that light of hope, that they can, get to these different levels. Yes, it's going to take work, but just kind of like reaching out to them and just being that support that you're wrapping around to help them move forward.
Right. Plus, once they're in that world, then it's how to navigate in it and maintain who you are and bring to it. We've had lots of people say, "Wow, your models they're professional, they're kind, they're lovely to work with," and obviously that's the best compliment that you could ever get. So,
like a mother when your kids are doing really
exactly.
good.
But of course, just like a mother, there's times where you're like, oh my gosh, they're driving me crazy. And I too, people would be like, why do you love hanging around with, teenage girls or young women in their 20s? I'm like, I know, I don't know why, but I just love it. It's just fun. It keeps you young. They're, and they're at the beginning of their life. And even if they do this for a little bit, it opens their eyes to the world and all the other possibilities. I'm such an entrepreneur at heart. And so, I don't know, it just keeps you alive and excited about possibilities. So I'll be like 95 years old going.
Yeah.
It's just fun. I love it.
Now I'm gonna have to let people know kind of, if you go to their website, you will see such a list of names that you'd be just amazed. Now I know one of your claim to fame was Ashton Kutcher, and like even when someone here says like, how did that happen? And even just the point of what I'm trying to say is like, it's not always this fancy, story of like how it happened. Like you guys like literally talked to him like at a bar or something, right? Like how did you even build that connection? Like that could be places where things start,
Yeah, I went up to him. He was 19. What I think is really beautiful is he's still a dear, dear friend in our life, and how he's used his platform, what he has done, and what he continues to do. It's incredible. And he was just a guy from Iowa who never stopped and had a big vision. And I think that's the most important thing, especially within the time that we're in. People are looking for hope. And I think it's 95% of the game is just perseverance and don't quit. Follow your joy. It's that simple and it's that hard.
True. We all can agree with that. It's that simple, but it's not easy. But that kind of goes to the theme. Like it's heart plus grit. Like it takes work, but if you know that's what you're meant to do, it all falls in line, and you'll still be working, but you enjoy every path along the way.
Yes.
So let's talk about the grit and the strife. They know they have a saying, strife builds strength, but behind any great work, there is work that's done behind it. So Mich, I'm going to come back to you because when I first met you, I see your pictures on, internet, and all I see is a smile, and the lady with she's known for her, she always has her hat is what represents her. Like that's part of her person. Okay. So like, that's also what helps her to stand. That's also how she stands out just by visuals, but not only that, but her personality. You have a natural energy. It's like a magnet, and it's clear, that you have fun doing everything that you do. And but my question is, when have there been times where life didn't feel so bubbly in business, and so like, how did you push through that?
Well, in business, it's interesting how I got here and why I don't have hair. Is actually a huge long story I won't go into, but it's a really difficult story. I think that we all have our stories that we've had to live out, and that we've realized how resilient we really are. And mine is, I adopted a little boy who was a sociopath and started out with very disturbing types of behaviors that ended up becoming violent. And it was a very difficult time in my life. I was losing me in all of it because I was hypervigilant, having to watch everything he was doing, very overwhelmed, dealing with a system that is not helpful when you're dealing with children's division and such. It was just kind of like, good luck, lady. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I need help here, But now that I'm on the other side of all of that, my company is really what brought me to heal. I was like, I didn't need a self-help book. I started to become an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurs, we have to dig deep. It hits you on every level. It hits you physically and mentally and spiritually, and you name it. You get hit, and you have to keep getting up and saying, I can do this. I can make this happen. It's a tough go to be an entrepreneur, but it's also crazy satisfying. And for me too, I mean, I lost all of my hair when I was going through the process. And so I didn't want to hide though. I mean, I was like, I can't just like hide out for the rest of my life. Be like, oh, I don't have hair. I can't be seen. Instead, I shall find awesome things to put on my head, go out there with a smile, and realize that, I'm able to get up every day and do things I love and meet amazing people. And I can't just be like laying around being all sad and having pity parties. It's time to get up and move. So I really feel like, Earth School is hard. It's just hard. And we're all here to learn and to become better people. And when you have those things that happen to you that just really knock you to the ground, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can get back up, have your pity party. That's fine. Don't stay there. At one point, get up and realize that every step you take, I look back now and think that was like over 10 years ago. Oh, I am so glad I got up and said hello and hi and yes to fun and just kept moving forward.
Yeah. And it made you stronger, like you say. I mean, it's what gives you I'm sure it's a part of what gives you the drive to do what you do now, relentlessly. Yeah. Mary, I'm coming back to you. I haven't forgot about you, Julie. I'm coming back to you too. But Mary, when again, people that are learning about, your company, again, now they're going to start looking it up. And even I just kind of scroll through like the Instagram. I'm just kind of like getting the overall, like feel like what people see. And, they see the company. They see it's been around for years. They see the accolades, and it looks smooth on the outside, But with any business owner will tell you it's a roller coaster going on behind the scenes. In your experiences, what were your biggest setbacks, and how did you overcome that to follow your passion?
Well, anybody who is close to us knows that it was, there was a whole lot of challenges along the way, and a lot of it just being deciding that you're going to manage models. First of all, I started this living in Iowa. That doesn't make a lot of sense. And I had lots of side hustles just to keep being able to do this thing that I loved. When we got married and we started to pursue this, we moved to St. Louis in 2001, and it was right before September 11th, and it affected the whole world, and it really affected New York City and the fashion world. And so financially, our world was rocked hard. And you have to decide at that point how to keep the flames of this thing that you love alive. And I think even like within this past year, pivoting, we don't have models traveling. There isn't a fashion week. Like you go down the list of how have things shifted and moved. And I think we can all agree that being an entrepreneur, you have to be so adaptable. You have to be able to think on your feet. You have to be able to say, okay, this was a big hurdle that we just overcame. But I feel like every single time one thing would disappoint us, before we knew it, there would be another opportunity. It would show up in the perfect timing. So as simple as saying perseverance through the hard times, it sounds like such a pat answer, but I just think it's the truth behind any successful person. And like we've all kind of collectively said, who you become in the process, that's the joy, that's the gem, that's where it's at. And I'm an avid reader. I get up in the morning, I choose my mindset. I think that that's a huge part of just being in this life. So yes, we've had financial challenges. We've had managing a model and taking them to the top and them deciding, okay, now I'm going to leave. And the relationship, the hurt, we need to be more, all professional, but then we're like, but then we wouldn't be us. We have to be true to who we are. So, I guess I would say to any entrepreneur, anybody, you have nothing to lose. One of the things that we have, the first model I ever placed many years ago she modeled for me when she was younger. Now she has a family and lives in Denver. And she said, I made something, I'm sending you a gift. I was like, okay, great. And she sends me this cutting board. She goes, I put the biggest lesson that I learned from you on this cutting board, and I want you to have it. And I'm thinking, oh, what beautiful, glorious words did I tell her? I was like, I can't wait to see. And I open up this box, and it's a cutting board, and in big, giant black letters, it says, fail big. And she said, you always told us, don't be afraid to have failures, because it's the only way that you're going to be successful. And now that hangs in my kitchen because that's what I want our kids to know and our grandkids to know. It's okay that there are going to be bumps in the road, but you can't let that stop you. That's just the bottom line.
Yes, that's so true. And I'm sure you all can agree. Like, there are times you may just for a split second question yourself, and then something pops up that just reassures you, just reaffirmation that yes, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Just keep pushing and keep pushing, and
for sure
it will take you where you're supposed to be. Now, so we're talking about strife, and Julie, this is my opportunity to present the question to you. Again, when we watch, the work that you've been doing, work that you're continuing to do, like, I'm sure it's an evolving door what you're doing because you're working in different spaces within marketing platform. But even through your transitioning, whether you're taking on a role here or deciding to go there or deciding maybe I should stay here longer, like you're talking about group plan, like with you navigating through this, what has been like your biggest struggles professionally and personally that you had to overcome to just keep pursuing your career passion?
Oh, that's a good question. I think as I was listening to everyone else's stories, it was reminding me that I've had to find the edge between bringing myself to work and taking agency over showing up professionally. And so what I mean by that is, again, I started in PR roles and then I moved over to supporting revenue. But in that time, I did not sign up for taking care of our first fatalities at these companies. So I've dealt with carjackings, I've dealt with murders, I've dealt with international border policy, where we've had people shot because the Army used the wrong GPS system. So those are not things that they teach you in school. And you go and you cry in a bathroom because someone's lost their life, but you have to come back and lead a team after that. And you have to take care of the company because it's on your watch and your responsibility if someone doesn't make a statement and handle it. So I wasn't trained for that. And I think my initial reaction was to be very steely about it and just get the work done. But I think what I like about myself is the fact that I am empathetic and I'm deeply connected to other people. So this time around in my career, finding that personal edge of bringing myself and not losing my empathy and my soul, and at the same time being effective in my job, I think is always going to be a balance and a challenge.
Yeah, that's true. Like you don't know, like you can't prepare. Sometimes you can't prepare yourself for some of those things, but how can you take that in, work with it, but also keep pushing through, towards, what it is that you want to do. Because you're going to always get sidetracked. I mean, the series of events that you just talked about, Julie, I'm sure that was not even a second thought, but you have to work through it and work past it, but still know that you're human and emphasize, but still, kind of get your team back together and keep moving forward as far as work. And I think that's important because we got to be prepared for the unexpected.
Yeah. And, we go through these things in our personal lives all the time, but if you don't let your manager know what you need or let your co-partner know what you need or your co-founder, then it is on you and things are going to come crashing down. So you have to figure out how to help share the burden and be professional about it.
Yeah. Those are great tips. So we're gonna talk about how can the things that you've all individually, respectively, have gone through. Like, what can be some lessons that you can share for others? Mary, I'm gonna give you back to Mike. I'm gonna give a scenario that every person that that starts a business goes their own route, goes against the grain, whatever it is that's just driving them to do so. They step outside of the quote norm to fulfill that passion. And many times, like I said earlier, you kind of second guess yourself. So these people may face considering going back and letting go of their dream. which is, I'm sure, happens too often than it should. What would be your words of encouragement to help redirect that person back onto their path? Besides fail big. You already used that one, so we can't use that one. That was a great one, though. Fail big.
Well, I mean, so much of our life is managing models in their careers. I mean, we manage, right? It's always around 25 models to one degree or another that are traveling. They're traveling the world. It's an unusual endeavor. There's a lot of uncertainty because it's always kind of waiting for that next thing. And it's teaching them that what you gain in pursuing something that's outside of the box is the most valuable part of it. Like, if you can just learn to be adaptable, I think it's very important to be teachable. I think that, we have a few key mentors that are there for us, and we trust their insight, and we go to them when we need that. And we also trust our instinct. You get to a certain point because you do have to allow yourself, even in the doubt, to go take the time for that still small voice. I just listened to something today that talked about the importance of rest, and how when you have time to clear your head, which we've all had a lot of time to do that.
Too much time for some.
In the big pause. But that can also be a really wonderful thing because it gives you clarity. So I would just say, trust your instincts, have a few good mentors, and be teachable. And don't quit when you have a bad day. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks for that. Yes. Julie, going back to you now. So just so everyone knows, like, Julie helped reach, somehow Julie and I got connected. Well, we got connected through Chris Denman, and she was doing this thing on Twitter where she was wanting to reach out and help others and, work with their marketing and branding. And she told, after a few short conversations, she just told me a few small tweaks to make, and like it made a big difference. So like I switched my name, my my Instagram name from Rashonda_Bellavelsa to my title, coming from my TED Talk, The Dietitian Against Diets. And like that's more of the definition of like who I am and what I stand for, but it's also something that people can remember. And so Julie, just so you know, kudos to you. Just that small, like little like help insight, it just like recreated, like we talk about personal branding, like it recreated like my brand and who I am, So a person like yourself that like I witnessed the passion that you have for others by helping them to succeed in the marketing industry with all your knowledge. If you came across anyone that struggles in finding their place or have dealt with setbacks, what would be the first step you would try to encourage them to take?
I think that the internet is an amazing place. It gets a bad rap, and there's a lot of toxicity out there as well that people like Mich are fighting, thank God. But you don't really have an excuse if you don't have a peer group now. I never really had a mentor. I never had a female manager that was truly interested in my success. So as I got older, I found female peer groups on Facebook and on LinkedIn that were truly interested in where I could go next. And these groups are free. They are created around a system of asks and offers. So you can take as much as you want from the group as long as you put something back in. And maybe your group is going to be on Twitter or on Reddit or whatever your subject matter is interesting to you. But if you have an internet connection, there's no reason you can't find someone who is knowledgeable and willing to give you 15 minutes of their time. So that's the first place I would start. I would be humble and ask whomever is in a position you wish to be in one day if they want to connect around their schedule, and whether it's Zoom or a phone call. And the people that are doing it right should be opening a door and creating a path for the people that are coming next, because that's the only way all of this works, I think.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I was just saying this this past weekend, I was thinking about like information and how things change and evolve. Like, not trying to be morbid, but people come and people go. We live and then we die, you know, but what stays is our lessons, is our teaching, is our language. And that the more you remember that you're supposed to, you know, outflow what you learn and keep that messaging going, you know, that's how things continue to get better. So how opportunities are created for people and things evolve. And, you know, just kind of like a way of looking at it, you're just a part of the pipeline. So you get mentored and you mentor, you know, and keep that going. Yeah. Mich, I'm going to end everything off with you, my lady. So I'm sure you specifically talk about like your industry and how you found like a lot of your clientele became people that are a little bit older and not as well versed in the social media platform. So like when you're approached to someone who's second guessing themselves, or maybe they have been exposed to like these opportunities that can be right there in front of them to help fulfill their passion, what would be their foundational next steps you would want to provide for them?
Well, I think, I want to tell people to keep your eye on the prize, but don't miss the lessons. So when they're second guessing themselves, or they're thinking, I'm not getting any opportunities, like nothing's coming my way. It's what Mary said, get up. Get up. Tomorrow is another day, right? And don't look at all of it like, oh, woe is me. Instead, I think put some awareness on it and go, okay, what am I supposed to learn here? Because the lessons you could be getting at that very moment when you think it's a failure or a setback or what have you, or a detour, that could actually be setting you up for greater success. But you got to learn the lesson, and you got to take the time to be aware of it. And that's the thing not to miss out on. How many times, I thought something was a setback and I'm like, okay, just breathe through it. You'll figure this out. And then later on I get up, I'm like, oh yeah, oh, so good that happened, because then I learned this and now it's all better. Mm-hmm. So don't miss the lessons.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
Oh man, there's so much more I could talk about with this. I even want to say something with that, but it's like, okay, we gotta slow it down a little bit, come to, unfortunately, a close, but there'll be more opportunities for these conversations. So as we're getting ready to, unfortunately, wrap it up, I want to give everybody a space on this platform to help those individuals. How can individuals that have questions or have, wanted to connect with you all or learn about what all you're doing, let's want to make sure we have a pathway so they can do so. So, Mich, I'm going to throw the mic back to you, and like, how can we learn about you, your services, where can they find you, and so forth?
Well, LinkedIn is a great place to go because I put everything on there that you could ever want to possibly know about me. So if you look me up on LinkedIn at Mich, Mich Hancock, please do connect with me. My company website is 100thmamm.com. And my podcast is Mishmash, Michmash, all squished together. Finally, TEDx St. Louis. We like to squish words together. So TEDx St. Louis also squished together. Find us at TEDx St, SAINT Louis.org. Thank you all.
All right. Great. We got plenty of ways to find her. She's not hiding anywhere. Okay, Mary, how about you? How can individuals get in contact with you guys?
Our website is mothermodelmanagement.com, and our Instagram is at Mother Model. I am at Mother Mary Clarke on Instagram. That's where I post about our podcast and everything else that we're doing. So that's really the best place to find us. Same on Facebook at Mother Model Management.
Okay, pretty simple and clean. Julie, yes. What about you? Where can we individuals get in contact with you?
Sure. So the company is Common Fortune. So the website is itscommonfortune.com. I'm all over LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and my handle is Julie_Mo, Julie Mo. And my DMs are always open. So I love meeting new people and happy to give out some advice.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys, ladies. Not guys. Thank you, ladies, again for carving out some time to share just your wealth of knowledge, your experience, giving that voice to others to help them figure out their pathway. I really, truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
It was fun.
You're welcome. Good. I knew it was. I couldn't wait to get it going. So, guys, again, thank you again for those who are out there. You have plenty of different options and ways to reach out to these ladies. So take advantage. You have space that you want to be in. You have dreams and goals. And if it's about your business or your product, you don't have to feel like you're doing it alone. We have individuals like this that can be a part of your story and help you to succeed. So thank you, guys, and I will see you next month. So thanks for being a part of their stories, their struggles, and their successes. Because of the work of the local dairy farmers and efforts from Midwest Dairy, we were able to bring more monthly conversations to you from mindful leaders that can be able to come to the table and tell you about their own path that can inspire you. So be on the lookout for next month's panel, Conversations with Mindful Leaders. See you next month.